Shuffles on the offensive line, and last week you even got Wyatt Milam in there for a little bit. And how tough is it? I mean, that continuity, playing next to a guy, build that repertoire. How tough is it to keep just kind of inserting different pieces?
It's definitely a challenge. Those guys have embraced that. It is tough though, because you get later in the year, you're gonna have less and less practice reps. You'll notice you have only so many days in full pads, and then even the days when you're not in full pads, you can't always get out there and truly get practice reps. You can't go full speed because guys get banged up. It's the nature of the beast a little bit at this point in the season. So you start to try to work a guy like Wyatt in at guard, at tackle, and he's playing both sides, got to be ready to play multiple positions, because when a guy's your 7th or 8th lineman, they can't just say, I'm the backup right guard and only the right guard. They got to be the backup right guard, backup left tackle, and backup left guard. So you go into the week and you know, I might only have a couple of reps during the week. Where do I take those reps? Do I take all 3 at right guard? Do I take 1 at left tackle? So you get in situations like that where, thankfully, Wyatt had gotten some reps in that situation, but you're kind of banking on the whole body of work over the whole off season, the whole training camp, even during the spring, of those guys being in meetings together, being out there practice together, because there's things in that game plan, plays in that game plan, that they may never have done together. So it's a challenge to be able to go out there and then do it in full speed when it's a play you've only walked through, only talked about in a meeting, but I love their approach to it.
How do you prepare for a defense like the Colts that throws so many different looks out there? And how do you kind of simulate it in practice?
Well, that's another thing that is a challenge. With limited reps, you have to have rules to the offense, to your system, and you have to kind of rely on things that you've practiced over the course of the year. You know that not only you need to have a plan for everything they've done, but you know that they're going to have something new that they haven't done. They're going to game plan something to attack us, our protection schemes, our routes, our concepts, our run game. So you kind of have to take a principles first approach and say, what are we trying to do? What are they trying to do from a broader view? And then how can we conceptualize this to let the guys still go out there and play fast, where they're not paralyzed by 5,000 different rules of 5,000 different looks. They do a great job of scheming things up, being creative, attacking all those different things. So it's a great challenge for us to simplify things back down and let our players go play.
You got Brian Thomas back last week, and then you see him go out there. Jacoby Myers had the catch, and Brian goes and gets the pancake block down the field.
Yeah.
I mean, seeing him putting those kind of effort plays, making plays for his other guys, what does that say about the kind of guy, player that Brian is?
It means a lot, and I know it means a lot to me personally. It means a lot to the guys in the room, and it means a lot to him to go out there and prove that he's that type of player. He's bought in. I mean, it's one of those things where you love the touchdowns, you love the catches, you love the big plays, and that was a huge play, but like those types of plays are plays you look back on and you feel like that's representative of the identity of our offense, and that's representative of his identity as a player. So there's so much in just that play that doesn't show up. Like we always talk about the stat sheet. There are all these different plays and things that show up that don't show up on the stat sheet, that show up on tape, and that means so much. A play like that is so special. We talked about the Quinn Allen, some of those plays earlier in the year. That's right up there with like the type of things that like damn near bring a tear to your eye as you're watching that.
Hey Grant, you have 12 games of Colts tape to look at this week. How do you prevent overanalyzing? Do you go back 4 or 5 games, or do you extend this from the whole season?
Yeah, that's a challenge you face. Really, at the end of the season, it starts to become a big challenge because there is so much tape to go through. But it's kind of one of those challenges you face all year, because most of these coordinators you're playing against have been coordinators last year or 2 years ago, or in this case, for a long history all the way before that. So you have a library and a body of work that you can study and basically drown yourself in data. So you try to pull out, once again, the main principles, the concepts, the things that are issues for you, and hope that your rules and your system can handle everything else. So you might not get to go over every pressure that they've done with the players since 2021, or even since week 1. You might not get to show them every single blitz that they've shown. But if you have good rules and you have a system and a foundation that the guys can rely on, then you trust in that it can handle different things like pressures, fronts, run schemes, things like that.
Follow up on that. Did the Colts change their coverages a lot when they got Gardner, but now he's out? Is it a guessing game of what they go back to?
Well, there's certainly always an adjustment when you have an injury, but I think it's pretty rare for an offense or a defense to totally scrap an identity.
Okay.
So if a team is playing man coverage and they lose a guy who was a great man defender, they still had 4 other guys on the field who were really high level at executing man coverage. Same thing when you have zone guys and different guys who are great pressure players or different rushers. You know, they've lost a great rusher, but they still can run some of those same pressures or same rush patterns that they were running when Buckner was in there. So you don't lose kind of the identity. I think that you kind of make adjustments typically. Now everybody's different, so you know, it's kind of week to week based on the game plan. How much do you need to adjust based on missing that guy? It's the same thing for us when you miss a wideout. You know, some games you may have heavily relied on that guy because the matchups presented themselves favorably for that guy. And then some weeks you kind of move along business as usual because running your normal core plays or running things within the flow of the game, you don't need to change. So it is a little bit week to week, but I don't think you ever really totally stray from the identity of an offense or defense.
You were in the building with Daniel Jones a little bit last year. What did you learn with your time with him? I mean, did you know that it's like, could you see then that the light might come on for this guy?
I think it was evident pretty immediately. I mean, you talk about a guy who's talented in pretty much all aspects of what you're looking for in a quarterback, where it's mental processing, physical ability, and then the ball coming out of his hands can make every single throw all over the field. You add on top of that, getting to be around him, what an unbelievable person he is. His work ethic, the guy he is in the locker room with the teammates, the camaraderie, the relationships that he builds with the guy. I mean, I don't have enough positive things to say about Daniel Jones. I mean, the way he works, so it's easy for me to say now, hindsight, right? I'm a little bit biased, but no surprise to me at all the type of success he's had.
Coach, what is the versatility that Cole Van Lano has been showing and the way he plays? And last week in a little bit of an emergency situation, moving over to a pretty key position. You know, when you first got here and you started watching film and you got to know Cole, you know, did you detect that kind of, I guess, willingness to do whatever was necessary for the team?
You certainly got to know by talking to him, getting to know him, that he would be willing to do what we needed. He's one of those guys who whatever you ask, he's going to attack it with his absolute maximum effort. But there's a lot of guys that are willing and able to try those things, but for him to actually go out there and do it in a game and move from right to left, we talked about doing it from a week-to-week basis and say, last week you were playing left tackle, now you're playing right guard. But to do that within a game is truly exceptional. So not only is it exceptionally physically, but exceptional mentally to know how we're hitting combinations at left tackle, not only left versus right, but outside versus inside. What are the calls out there? What are the looks we're getting? It's different fronts, totally different surfaces. Now I'm working with tight ends and I'm not working with the center and a guard. So for him to do that and to continue to kind of do it week to week is a testament to his preparation, his work ethic.
Thanks, Grant.
Thank you, Grant. Thanks.